we're on.
Welcome to the Great People Show, your guide to greatness, your GPS to excellence. Here's your host, J.J. White.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Great People Show. I'm your host, JJ, and in the studio with me today is Kelsey. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, JJ. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We have a stimulating topic today about
excited.
being a control freak. But before we get to that, if you'd like to contribute to our show today, give us a call, 804-454-1366. We would love to hear your stories, opinions, and even advice on being a control freak. Or you can email me at jj@greatpeopleshow, because we are everywhere. Our show is absolutely everywhere. greatpeopleshow.com. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, Insta. I was told the other day it's just called Insta.
It's how the millennials call it.
Oh. I'm just trying to fit in over here. Twitter. All of these places, we're at Great People Show, because this is the People Show. We want to talk about the topics that are important to you on your path to greatness. Being a control freak. Kelsey, are you a control freak?
Yes.
Wow, that was quick. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, or let's make this 0 to 10. On a scale from 0 to 10, 0 meaning you don't try to control anything. 10 is you try to control everything. Where are you on that spectrum?
Probably like a 7 or 8. I just like everything to be perfect and
Everything.
right.
Prioritize that for me. What's everything? What's the most important thing to be perfect in your life?
Well, I think that changes with age. Right now, I think it's my education, being at school, making sure that everything's going well, going right.
So being smart is where you want to be?
Well, yeah, make good grades, make sure I'm doing all the right things and making the right connections.
Okay.
And
so, we're using the topic control freak because that's what I think most people resonate with.
Yeah.
That's what they identify with because we've just used it in our society for so long. So if that bothers you, if the term control freak bothers you, we'll just call you a control seeker. What do you think about that?
I like that.
We'll lessen its brutality if you want to. Rather than being a freak, you can just be a seeker.
I like that.
So this is the technical definition from Psychology Today. I don't know how technical that is, but that's what I found on being a control freak. They're often obsessive, compulsive, angry, phobic, or even mood disordered. Now, there's going to be a group of our audience right now that says, oh, yeah, that's me. And then there's going to be a group of our audience that says, no, that's not me. So one of the things I want to do on the show today is correlate some of the real common things that we may obsess over and then really help you identify, is that me? Do I do those things? And it came up on our last show whenever we were talking about blind spots. Mm-hmm. And you all may remember me saying this. When I asked Sam, my wife, what my biggest blind spot was, she said, well, you just like to control a lot of things, which really has led me into this topic today. Well, if this applies to me, then it probably applies to a whole lot of other people too.
Mm-hmm.
These people need control because without it, they fear things would spiral out of control and their lives would fall apart. Wow. I mean, I know some people that are not control freaks and their lives have not spiraled. And there's that saying, rather than trying to be a second-rate someone else, try to be a first-rate you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think often we compare ourselves to other people. And when we don't have what other people have, we try to take more control over our actions, our behaviors, not necessarily to make ourselves happy, but to try to replicate what other people have and do. Do you see that?
Yeah, definitely. Because you think you can look at someone and be like, oh my gosh, they have their life together.
Yeah.
They control everything.
Yeah. So as we move into the show today, we want to hear your comments. We're on Facebook Live. We're in the studio at 804-454-1366. So I'm curious, when is it good to be a control freak? When do you think it's a good time to grab it by the reins and say, this is mine, I'm in control, and I'm not letting go?
I feel like if you have a project or maybe like a big event like your wedding, I guess.
Okay.
Or, I mean, I guess if you're planning a funeral, you want everything to go well as well. It could go either way.
If it is your funeral, it probably doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, at that point, you can't be a control freak anymore. You gotta let somebody else.
I'm curious, if you even feel like you need to have control at your funeral, when it's your funeral, then we need to talk to you on the show today. Well, that's severe.
But that already happens because people, they'll be like, I want to be buried here, or I want to be cremated, and people plan that kind of stuff. They put it in their will.
I never thought about that.
My mom does. She's already told me.
My dad did that.
My mom has already told me her funeral plans.
I'll tell you a quick funny story about my dad. He passed away back in 2004. And I remember having this conversation with him about him going and investing in his funeral plot. And I love the word investing. You're investing, because if you buy early, you get a better deal. Okay. Well, I mean, let's face it, right? It's supply and demand. It's, it's basic economics. Mm-hmm. If you have passed and your family needs a place to put you, they can pretty much charge whatever they want at that point. I mean, let's be real about it, okay? So he bought it, he made the payment on it, he paid it off, and then he wanted to upgrade. And his upgrade was into the mausoleum on the outside. Paid that off. Wanted to upgrade. Moved him to the inside at the top. Paid that off. Wanted to upgrade. And unfortunately, he passed before he could get further down in the mausoleum. But that's control, isn't it? I mean, that's like saying, I want to know exactly where I'm going to be when I'm not here anymore, which is total oxymoron. Where else is it good to be a control freak?
I think, like I was saying, when you have a project, like at work, if you're doing a big project,
especially
if it's you, if it's just you, it's a little bit different when you have a team, because then you have to delegate, and some of it is out of your control. But if you got a big project, if it's something really important, you definitely want to be in control and know everything that's going on.
If I had to rank the number one issue that leaders get in trouble with in their abilities to do an effective job in their job, and to keep them from being able to accelerate in the company through promotion, is the inability to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the sound advice here is you have to create your replacement. And there's no way you can do that without letting go of control and delegating. And if you have that problem, or if you used to have that problem and you overcame that problem, we want to hear you on the show today, 804-454-1366. Here's where I think it's good to be a control freak. Is in times of urgency, chaos, when people are lost, when people lack direction, don't be the person that just sits around and waits for someone else to take control of the situation. Just do it. And if your instincts really dictate to you, if they're screaming to you, Kelsey, do something about this. JJ, do something about this. Then just do it. Don't hesitate. Because I've seen a lot of people that are, it's almost ironic. They're a controller in almost every area of their life. But when the rubber meets the road and things get chaotic and things maybe start to get a little bit out of their control, they freeze up. They just kind of lose it. It gets crazy. So today we're talking about being a control freak. If you want to contribute to this topic, please call us into the show, 804-454-1366. When we come back, we're going to talk about the 5 signs that you're a control freak. You're listening to The Great People Show.
Caitlin and Brad had always seen their parents as boring adults, until their family stayed at the Omni homestead. Once Dad went full desperado during horseback riding and Mom left them in the dust while hiking the Cascades Gorge, they learned to never underestimate an inner child. How might staying at Omni affect you? From hay rides to mountain biking, choose a different adventure every day with our adventure package. To learn more and book your next stay, visit theomnihomestead.com. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Before the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Oh, I want something just like
All right, welcome back to the Great People Show. I'm J.J. White, your host. In the studio with me today is Kelsey, and we are talking about, are you a control freak? And right before we went to our break, we were talking about how sometimes being a control freak can actually propel you into greatness.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say statistically, it's probably going to hold you back more often. 5 signs you're a control freak. Number 1, correcting people when they are wrong. Now, why do you think that's a sign you're a control freak?
Well, I think that kind of ties into the last one, or the second one, where it says getting the last word in.
You're not supposed to talk about that.
You're winning an argument.
Okay. Well, when you're correcting people when they're wrong, that means you think we were talking about this before the show. You think you have all the answers.
Mm-hmm. You're always right.
You're always right. You always see it the better way. You always see it differently, which is always the better way. And you take the moments to correct someone. Now, even if you know for a fact you're right, it's better off. You're better off not to just take control and tell someone, well, that's not right. This is right. Another sign, getting the last word in to win an argument. I was told this when I was younger. I've really worked on this hard. I think I was in my late teens, my early 20s, and I was trying to win an argument, and this person literally yelled at me, "You always get the last word in." And guess what I said? No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. It just happens that way. Another sign, refusing to admit you're wrong. The Dale Carnegie principle is when you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. And if you can't admit you're wrong, that means for some reason you've convinced yourself that you're right. And that keeps you in control of the situation. And one thing we haven't talked about in the show yet, we're not really talking about controlling people or controlling situations as much as the real driver here is trying to control your own emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's whenever we get emotionally out of control that the anxiety kicks in. And part of this whole phenomenon of being a control freak is really trying to maintain our anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Judging others is another sign that you're a control freak. Now, you're in college, Kelsey. I'm sure you've never been in a situation where you and your friends sat around and talked trash about someone else behind their back. I'm sure that's never happened to you.
Everyone does that.
Oh. So now it's not. So that does that justify?
Can't just blame it on the millennials.
No, hey, it's not what I said. Wait, am I being a control freak right now? So often, whenever we're thinking about ourselves in comparison to others, and maybe part of that control mechanism is if we see something that we like in someone else, or someone that we admire in someone else, or something that we want that someone else has, that we can be very judgmental towards that because we're jealous. And the only way we control our emotions in that situation is to minimize it, degrade it, make fun of it. So if you're on Facebook Live or you're listening to us and you want to call in and be a part of the show, of course you do, 804-454-1366. Another part of this, whenever I talk to people about being a control freak, whether it's in one of our training programs, in our coaching sessions, just one-on-one, just having conversation with someone, it often gets tied to OCD, that obsessive compulsive disorder. which is, I guess, clinical. I'm not going to get into that on the show because I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, which could be on all subjects. But whenever you get into this OCD thing, where it's the premise of that is people get anxious about issues that seem out of control or just messy. And when we went to Facebook with this topic earlier this week, I simply asked the question, tell me your favorite stories on being a control freak. I think only one response was professional. Everything was personal. And the top three were cooking, cleaning the house, and doing laundry. Being a control freak about that. And the other one was driving, which was actually our fifth sign that you may be a control freak, is road rage. Guilty as charged.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. Guilty as charged. You may not see it, but I'm certainly feeling it sometimes. I have a 30-minute commute mainly on the interstate, and there's nothing like someone going 45 and a 65. Oh, boy. Right? If only we could just have a little remote control of other people's cars just to kind of get out of our way.
Like a driver's ed teacher.
Oh, that would make the anxiety go. Yeah, right. Your driver's ed teacher for hire. So on that topic of driving, Angie Overstreet on Facebook says, this is great. Angie, this is one of my favorite comments. I have to drive, even if it means taking two vehicles. Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
That's serious. Angie, if you happen to be listening to the show, I really want to talk to you about this. 804-454-1366. Dishwasher, Lisa Stover, loading the dishwasher efficiently and neatly. I like the word efficient. I think it's okay to justify being a control freak if it's efficient.
Mm-hmm.
If you're saving the world time and energy, it's a worthy cause, isn't it, Kelsey?
Yeah. Sounds like it to me. I agree.
Yep. Stephanie Goff says the thermostat, one can always bundle up if it's too cold. Wow. So we have a caller. Sean Ryan comes to us, and we're talking about control freaks. Good afternoon. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Doing well.
Talk to us about being a control freak.
Yeah. So I think for me, I would just say I'm a control freak. I'm more of the type of person who would want to make sure that everything is kind of lined up and that what the team is doing is successful in reaching the ultimate goal.
Awesome.
But I think oftentimes I can kind of run into the issues of too many expectations, not enough, the supervisor or manager doesn't trust me type of thing. So how do you combat the idea of laying clear expectations, missions, and goals and vision, but at the same time still allowing your team to do their work, but not come off as if you're trying to control what they're doing, but only trying to implement accountability. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So in your role, do you have people working for you that you're trying to manage and trying to get them to accomplish goals? And your desire is not to do it for them and spend too much time in the trench with them?
I think it's how do you find a healthy balance between spending time with them in the trenches and doing work with them versus that of holding them accountable in that sense.
About how many people do you have on your team?
Well, I had one professional staff and numerous student workers and student leaders. I'm in the transition of jobs right now.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so the foundation of this whole challenge is trust on your part of them. And we know that if someone is capable to do a job, maybe not to your expectations, maybe they're maybe 60 to 70% capable to doing the job, and you step in and cross too many boundaries of, well, you need to do it this way, or it should be done this way, they're going to know that you don't, or let me put it this way, they're going to believe that you don't trust them. It doesn't matter if you do or not. It's perceptions is reality. So, and it's very difficult once you've traveled down this path too far, but at any point in this process of you catching yourself thinking, I am probably being a control freak here, is to have that conversation with them. And Sean, this is my conversation. It's not necessarily your conversation, but I'm just going to tell you what I would say is, I would admit that maybe I'm wrong first. And go to them and say, I sense that I may be trying to control this too much. What do you think? What can I do to help you do more of this on your own or grow and get their point of view? Because, Sean, one challenge here I've seen is there are people that want you to control them. And,
Right, those steps.
and if you step back too far, guess what? They actually are upset by that. So
Right.
you have to find out what their expectations are. And if you have mismanaged expectations, maybe if they say, Sean, I don't want you to even bother me with the work, then you have to step in as a leader and say, well, we need to find a healthy balance, because I do believe you need some help along the way. We just need to find out where. So, my advice here is this has to be a very open conversation with each person on the team, because you're going to have some that want you to control them, and your job is to actually untether them from you. And then you have some people that want no control, but you have to be involved in their work a little bit, simply because they just aren't doing it to the best of their abilities. Does that help you in your situation?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's oftentimes, as a new manager and as a new professional, I think oftentimes it's that, especially working with a mix of generational differences, I think is oftentimes that difficulty, because everyone views and generational differences different in management. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling the show, Sean. I appreciate it. We wish you well on your leadership journey.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys taking time.
Thank you. Have a good day. So going also to Facebook, Nicole Haskins, a longtime close personal friend and client. Nicole, we miss you. She calls it being a control master. Man,
I like that title.
leave it up to Nicole to call that being a control master. We're going to have to get Nicole on the show here one of these days. So other things that you can identify in yourself is having an excessive interest in lists, timetables, and rules. Being so concerned with completing a task perfectly that they have problems completing it. It's perfectionism. You may have heard the saying, good is enemy to the great. Good is enemy to great. Jim Collins. Also, perfect is enemy to great. That we will literally squeeze the oxygen out of a project or a person before they ever get a chance to do something about it. We heard this from Sean, and we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about it, but I think it's an important topic to talk about. Is one of the drivers of us being a control freak is that we have such high standards. What do you have incredibly high standards over?
That's an interesting question. Here, I'll think about it.
Oh,
what do
come on,
you
Kelsey.
have high standards on?
My children.
That makes sense.
And I want them to be the absolute best they can be. And it's all I can do to say I need to let them create their own path. That's difficult. A lot of people are a control freak because it leads to recognition. Now, I really admire Sean, our last caller, because I never sensed in him at all that he was doing this to get the glory.
Oh, yeah.
Because he could easily be the guy that says, well, I'm going to show you how to do it right, because whenever we win this project or get it right, I'm going to get the recognition. I think very few people outwardly say that, but they absolutely feel it. The other one is they feel needed. I've been in many situations where people try to control the situation just to show that they're needed by others. Say, hey, I'm a valuable part of this relationship. I'm a valuable part of this team. So call us if you want to talk more about this control freak issue, 804-454-1366. Email me at jj@greatpeopleshow. When we come back, we'll be taking more callers. You are listening to The Great People Show.
Oh, I want something just like this. I want something just like this. I want something just like this.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Before the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Caitlin and Brad had always seen their parents as boring adults, until their family stayed at the Omni homestead. Once Dad went full desperado during horseback riding and Mom left them in the dust while hiking the Cascades Gorge, they learned to never underestimate an inner child. How might staying at Omni affect you? From hay rides to mountain biking, choose a different adventure every day with our adventure package. To learn more and book your next stay, visit theomnihomestead.com. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
I want something just like this.
All right, welcome back to the Great People Show. Check us out. We are everywhere. GreatPeopleShow.com, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spreaker. The list goes on and on, because this is the People's Show, your guide to greatness. So we have Chris Lazuri. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are y'all?
We're great. So Chris, tell us about being a control freak. Where are you at in this whole control freak spectrum?
I think it goes back to what you said earlier about the kitchen and cooking and the dishwasher. I think it's those little things that you feel like you can control. You take control of, and you're able to do it a way maybe you're accustomed to. Some of those things come from tradition or the way your family's done it, and it's just the way you're used to it. Yeah.
That's a really
Chris, yeah.
interesting concept that you were talking about, because I was just thinking the same thing, that I never really thought about it until the Facebook comments came in and JJ and I were talking about them, and I was like, that's so true. Like,
Yeah.
I never would have thought, I would have thought more professionally, like we were talking about in the workplace or maybe at school.
Yeah. Well,
No, I would.
Go
And I
ahead.
think of it from being married. I'll have been married.
I'm not there yet.
I'll have been married. If I make it there on Tuesday, it'll be 19 years.
Wow,
of-
congratulations.
Congratulations.
So controlling the little things
Yeah.
is important. But I realize some of the things that the way my wife does them is the way her family's always done them,
okay.
and some of the ways we do them. So whether it become a Christmas tradition or the way a spaghetti sauce is cooked or the dishwasher is loaded, they're just differences.
Chris, what happens, whether it be in those situations or any other situation that you get involved in, what happens whenever someone tries to...
What happens when, like, someone tries to do something differently? Like maybe your wife does something a little bit differently, or is there conflict there? Or maybe after almost 20 years, y'all have come to a happy medium?
Yeah, what happens?
I think it depends which one of us is doing it, but from that standpoint, often it's let me handle this aspect of it and you do something else.
So the control just gets passed around, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel the level of agitation in myself rising if I'm not in control of it. So
That's
I try
great.
to be cautious of that. Of either you do it or I do it. But if we're both doing it, I don't think we're gonna.
It's not
end
going to
well.
work out. Yep.
Yeah, that brings up an interesting concept. Yeah, I think the reason that some people get away with being a control freak for so life is they just surround themselves with people that don't need to be a control freak. It's that they let that other person just, they need to have control. Let them go for it, and then they'll be fine. Just let them get it out of their system.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I first heard you talking, Chris, you were talking about how it's the little things that add up, and it's the little things at home. And I'm curious from your perspective how that translates over into your professional life. Like, do you see it the same way, or do you behave the same way, or do you take a different approach when you're at work with other people that you may not have as much understanding with or close proximity to? How does that work out in your life?
Yeah, I guess from that standpoint, working with a wide variety of people, it's harder to understand what they do need to have control of and how that fits in with what you're trying to accomplish. I think the worst thing is not having control of something that you're going to be held accountable for.
Yeah.
So that ability to, hold on, you're holding me accountable to this, but you're not giving me the authority to make those decisions. That's where a control freak comes in from that standpoint. You have to have that.
Do you have that conversation with someone at the right time with exactly what you just said? You want me want me to be accountable, but I don't have authority. How do you do that?
Luckily, where I've been, I've built up hopefully enough credibility to be able to do that when the time comes. So it is a conversation that I've had to have. It's a role that's got to be filled from that standpoint, but it's not always one that's, when you're dealing with a bunch of people that are typically controlling, that it's easy for them to give up either, because you're accountable on one level and they're accountable on another. So if you don't look at each other's perspectives, then you might be trying to accomplish the same thing but have two different ways of looking at it, with the other not understanding your point of view of why you want to do it the way you do.
Yeah, I think we talked about this on our last show, where one of the quotes that I used is, "Nothing destroys a relationship faster than unspoken expectations." And when I hear you talk, I think about that if we aren't communicating our frustrations in the appropriate way to the right people, then this controlling thing happens in the background the whole time. Like it could be during a project, maybe it's just during an entire relationship where there's this underlying current of pushing and pulling back and forth. And in your previous personal examples is between you and your wife, you just learn. You just know how to kind of get out of each other's way when you need to. But professionally, I think it's a lot different because you've got different goals. And have you found yourself in the past having to have those really challenging conversations with someone about, hey, I don't think we're all driving in the same direction, and we're kind of ripping each other apart? Has that been something that you've been a part of?
Yeah, certainly in certain aspects, from the standpoint of as you become more comfortable working with somebody, you do learn how they work versus how you work, and to be able to make that happen. But it is a difficult conversation to have, because sometimes it's with people that are above you in a hierarchy, and other times it's from a standpoint of, this is why we're doing it. And I think sometimes that's the point that comes in. I mean, an example, taking it back to home again, as we moved into a new house, I kept parking on the right side of the driveway. My wife's like, "Can you park on the left side?" And I'm like, "Why?" I was like, to me, parking on the right side of the driveway, I can get out of the driver's door. I'm still in the driveway. I'm not stepping into the grass. And she said, "Well, you kind of block the sidewalk. So if we were ever to have a guest, they've got to walk around your car to get to the sidewalk." And as soon as she explained that, I was like, all right, I'll park on the left side of the driveway. But never something that I would have considered. But once she gave me her perspective, she was right, as usual.
That is so
good
funny.
Answer, Chris. Good,
the exact
nice
same
way to
thing
end
just
that.
happened to me at home. At home, my mom parks in the garage, my dad parks on the right, and I park on the left. And I came home last Sunday for the day, and I pull up, and someone's in my parking spot, and it threw everything off.
Your parking spot.
And it throws everything off, and everyone's in a tizzy because they're like, "I need to get out, but you're in my way." Blah blah blah. That is so funny. I completely relate, Chris.
So, Chris, what I hear you saying is, and I loved your first reaction, which is really why. Okay, why does it? Why now? If you say why does it matter, that might standoffish a little bit. But just getting their point of view of an issue helps us release some control over a situation. Because I'm sure that if you were not, if it wasn't your wife or just someone kind of came and give you a hard time of you can't park there, it would probably create a little defensiveness on your part, wouldn't it?
Right, certainly. And that's that difficulty at work. Typically, I tend to be a non-confrontational person, so to bring up something that I think needs to be done a certain way. I mean, something as simple as an Excel spreadsheet, if you're at work. Well, why are the columns in that order? Well, I like to look at it this way. Maybe you like it. Can you resort it? I can, but you have the same Excel spreadsheet. Maybe you could do it if that's how you want to look at it.
That's great.
Oh, that is funny.
And you I'm sure you abbreviated that example for us, but in real life, that could go on for like minutes. I mean, you could waste so much time just trying to battle perfectionism in a way, or point of view. And, Chris, to your credit, you could be just coaching someone. Say, hey, this could be better for the people that you're doing this for. But we get so tied to our own work, don't we? I mean, we just get so, like, we own something so hard. It's hard for someone like Chris to step in and give us some advice. So I'm curious, Chris, you seem to have a tremendous amount of self-control, just from what I hear you say. Like in these situations, you know yourself, you know the other people. I don't remember your exact words, but you say you tend to be a non-confrontational person, which takes a strong amount of self-control. What's your advice for our listeners on how we can become more like that kind of person?
Like I said, just the value of understanding why the other person has a different perspective, of trying to help understand, they're looking at it from a different angle, and if the more perspectives you take in, the more likely there is to maybe be a common way to do something, or less controlling, or the fact that there maybe is a better way than what you think there is doing. So from that standpoint, it helps, I think, to have that conversation of understanding, or just getting to know a little bit more about that person you're working with, to see what angle they're looking at it from.
And taking that just one step further, which it sounds like you do already, is if you're in a situation with someone else and you have different points of view, is just to say, you know what, let's give your shot a try. Because in my personal experience, at least half the time, if not more, their way is better. Mm-hmm. And they have a better idea than I do. And I think if we humble ourselves enough, we start to realize, wow, I shouldn't be as much of a control freak as I am, because I'm usually not in the right about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that really gets us to a better place of emotional state with these situations.
Just being flexible.
Yeah. Chris, thank you so much for joining our show today and giving your opinions. We appreciate your time here.
No, I appreciate being able to listen and calling in.
All right. Have a good day, Chris. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
So we're here on the Great People Show talking about being a control freak and why it may or may not lead you to greatness. You're listening to the Great People Show.
Caitlin and Brad had always seen their parents as boring adults, until their family stayed at the Omni homestead. Once Dad went full desperado during horseback riding and Mom left them in the dust while hiking the Cascades Gorge, they learned to never underestimate an inner child. How might staying at Omni affect you? From hay rides to mountain biking, choose a different adventure every day with our adventure package. To learn more and book your next stay, visit theomnihomestead.com. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
Before the book How to Win Friends and Influence People was the Dale Carnegie course. Now, after 104 years, over 8 million people experience Dale Carnegie courses. People like Warren Buffett and Ronald Reagan. The Dale Carnegie experience uses proven techniques to permanently unlock the potential of top talent, making individuals into inspiring leaders and groups into high-performing teams, while reducing the financial and emotional costs of employee turnover. For more information, visit DaleCarnegieRichmond.com. That's DaleCarnegieRichmond.com.
Jacqueline and Nick thought they knew everything there was to know about each other. But after staying at the Omni homestead, where they discovered Nick was a natural in a kayak and Jacqueline had a zest for ziplining, they realized every journey is a chance to discover something new. How might staying at Omni affect you? From unlimited golf to intimate dining and romantic spa retreats, visit theomnihomestead.com to find the perfect package for your next getaway. The Omni Homestead Resort. Never stay the same.
I want something just like
You are listening to the Great People Show. I'm your host, JJ White, and here we have in the studio with us our co-host, Kelsey Bridges. And today we're talking about being a control freak. Why it may or may not be a good thing for you. And we have on the line with us, Jody Alcock. Jody, welcome to the show.
Hi, JJ. Hi, Kelsey. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
Good
for having
morning.
us. So, Jody, let's be direct. Are you a control freak?
You know what's funny is in most parts of my life, I'm so not a control freak.
Okay.
I have like a really laid back parenting style and laid back as a wife. When it comes to work,
Okay.
I hold on to every single detail with both hands.
Why is there such a gap there between work and home for you on this?
You know, I really don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, except that in my work life, I feel like my clients are depending on me, and letting go of those responsibilities and giving them to my team is just something I've struggled with for years and years and years. I feel like it's all on me, and I need to hang on to it and make sure it's all done perfectly.
So you said the first thing out of your mouth was, my clients depend on me. But doesn't your husband and your family depend on you even more?
They do depend on me, but we're at home, we're just such an integrated team.
Okay.
And it's somehow easier for us as a family unit to just be a team and rely on each other, and we sort of get through every day as a team.
Yeah.
And your family is also more forgiving than your clients are.
Oh, very true.
Yeah, your clients can fire you. Your husband can't. Well, I guess technically he could, but the chances are small. So
that's not going to happen.
So Jody, let's chase this concept of the team effect. And I don't remember if it was an article I was reading or a book, but they were talking about how the tightest knit teams in our society are first responders. Mm-hmm. That no matter what drama is happening in that team, and these are some folks that spend more time with each other than they do their own family, mm-hmm. that when they have to respond to an incident, they are on it. Mm-hmm. They are working together. There's no issues. There's no baggage. There's no backstabbing. I mean, it is a pure team effort. Does that sound like your family, Jody? That you just guys, you all are so in sync with each other that you understand each other's norms, and you just, it's almost like, I'm not going to say it's perfect, because nothing's perfect, but just the way you describe your family just reminds me of kind of being a first responders team. You just know each other so well, and you've got things to get done, and you just get it done. Is that your family?
Absolutely. My husband and I finish each other's sentences literally, and he knows what I'm thinking, and we just mesh as a team and as parents, and it comes from having been together so long and having waited 10 years to have our family, and we got to know each other as a couple before we had kids, and now we just mesh. It just happens.
So tell us a little bit more about what happens at work. Like, what are the positive effects of you being? Now, do you want to be called a control freak, or would you prefer a control seeker? What do you like?
It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I'm good either way.
I like control freak. So what's the upside of you being a control freak at work?
Well, the upside is that I know that what I'm delivering to my clients is the absolute best results that I can offer. I'm handling it from start to finish, so I know it's going to be up to my standards, and they're going to get the results that I demand every time. Yep.
Downside. What's the downside of being a control freak?
Well, the downside is that my plate gets too full. The downside is, studies have shown that there's a dramatic downside to, say, employee engagement.
Yeah.
I'm the vice president of the company, and I have a team around me
who
are incredibly talented, incredibly bright, incredibly capable millennials who are more than able to take these things off my plate and deserve my trust and have my trust.
Yeah.
Some of my teammates are my very best friends.
Yeah.
I do trust them implicitly. And, research has shown that belief in senior leadership and senior leadership showing employees trust dramatically improves employee engagement.
Absolutely.
So there's a huge downside there in my not delegating to them from an employee engagement standpoint.
So I heard you say earlier that you really expect and demand the toppest quality to your clients, and in that same breath almost, that you have this massive trust for your people to do great work. What's holding you back?
That's what I've been working on.
Yeah.
That's what I've been working on. And,
And how do you work on that? What do you do to work on that?
Well, this past winter, actually, I took Dale Carnegie's Leadership Training for Managers program. Mm-hmm. And that is really, really helping me. They really reinforce in that course how delegation is good for the organization, it's good for the delegate, and it's good for the delegator.
Yeah.
So, and one really simple thing one really simple question actually, that has really helped me is when I'm delegating a task to one of my teammates, I ask them, and this really helps me make sure that I'm communicating properly to them, as I ask them simply, so that I know we're on the same page, would you mind repeating to me what I just asked you to do?
Okay.
And then I get to hear them say it back to me in their own words.
And that makes you feel better.
And that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
It just makes me know that I've communicated my vision for what I want them to do properly.
So it shifts your emotional state. It just makes you feel calm. Do you feel
Exactly.
Do you feel anxiety whenever these situations come up and you have to do something and you're like, I think I'm just going to do that for them, or is anxiety connected to the inability to delegate as much as you like?
It very much is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that would be the first place to start in your journey, is to say, I need to push through the anxiety, because I think your greatness on this topic is just on the other side of that anxiety. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that you know to do right now, because you're so good at it, is just to do it. Like it's kind of that instant gratification of, here, I'll just do this really fast, because I'm afraid if I give it to them to do, I can do it in 5 minutes, but they may not get to it till this afternoon. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take me longer to explain it to them than if I just do it myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
There's a phrase I often say to myself.
And you said earlier, your plate's full. Shocking.
Over. Right. Exactly.
Shocking.
Exactly.
At some point, I wonder if it's good just to take the plate and flip it up and just knock everything off of it and say, gang, I'm done with it. Everyone is doing everything, and we're just going to see how it goes. Maybe that's...
And the truth is, they would pick it all up, and they would run with it, and they would do a fantastic job.
Absolutely. So Jody, what's one thing you're going to do different today to be less of a control freak, delegate more to your team, build trust, and get them more engaged in their job?
I will today choose one thing off of my plate to hand over to each of my teammates.
Right on.
There you go.
We got your back. So email me, JJ at Great People Show. Email me tomorrow. All right, I'm expecting an email from you. I want to know how it went. And if you didn't do it, you still need to email me. All right? That's the deal. Jody, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate your contributions.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Have a good day.
You too.
So today we've been talking about being a control freak. And we want to provide some solutions for this. And I think this conversation with Jody was a clear example of one of the things that's holding us back professionally from being able to be great at something is, and it's almost like an oxymoron, isn't it? That one of the things holding us back from being great is we're trying to do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. That if we don't build a solid team around us, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And if you hear Jody and Chris and Shauna earlier, the underlying driver of this is emotion. It's anxiety. It's the fear of things going wrong and us getting in trouble for that, or us being held accountable to that. Personally, I've been in many situations in my life where I did give something to somebody. I did trust them, and it went wrong. Mm-hmm. And I had to take one for the team with the client or whomever when that went wrong. But of course, working hard not to throw that person under the bus. Mm-hmm. The client usually appreciates the fact that you're working as a team to do something. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, we are sorry, we did not do that well. And to Jody's point, if you don't do these kind of things, your employees are probably going to go somewhere where they can work freely and work more autonomously. And a big part of this is getting out of our comfort zone when it comes to being able to delegate, being able to let other people do things the way they want to do it, and not be such a control freak. We're sitting here watching Facebook and on Facebook Live, and a couple times I've seen people post the fact that as you get older, the control freakishness, as Travis Wagaman said, kicks up a notch. And I can tell you, as the son of parents and dealing with people that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s, I mean, they made movies about this stuff. It was called Grumpy Old Men, remember? About, as we get older, we tend to want to control more things in our life because, to Travis's point, I'm running out of time in my life to save the amount of money I need in order to retire at the way that I want to. And there's this concept of going from success to significance in our life. Ray Powell just said 60's not old. Sorry, Ray. From going from significance to success, and when the clock starts to run out on things, when the clock starts to run out on our life, I think naturally start to want to take the bull by the horns and take more control over a situation. So whether it's you making sure that the cups are in the right place in the dishwasher, me personally, it's making sure that the towels are folded corner to corner and they're stacked up in the closet by color. Why? Because that just makes sense. It just makes sense to me. These little things that happen in our life, or is it the big things that happen at work? If you are in a job where you feel stagnant, that's going to be a future topic of the show. Why are you stagnant? Why are you stuck? It could be because you have created such a tight comfort zone around yourself and around your family, around whomever, that no one can breathe. No one can move forward in their life. And if no one around you can move forward, you can't move forward either.
You're holding everybody else back.
Because everyone's depending on you. I mean, let's go back to what Jody said. They are not going to be able to grow as people because they are waiting on her to do it for them. And people stop coming to you to help them solve a problem. They come to you for the solution. They're not there to get advice. They're there to be told what to do. And you train people to do that when you're a control freak. So my advice to you today on this whole topic of being a control freak is you have to identify the emotion that's driving the behavior. And it's probably rooted in fear. Would you agree with that, Kelsey?
Yeah, definitely.
And what are we afraid of if we're a control freak?
It's not going right.
It's not going right according to our point of view.
Our standards.
And I'd almost guarantee it's probably going to go a little bit better if you're not trying to control it so much. We want to thank you for being a part of this show and a part of this mission at the Great People Show. This is the People Show, where we want to bring topics to you that are holding you back from greatness. This show is your guide to greatness, your GPS to excellence. Get it? Great People Show, GPS to excellence. Reach out to us. We are everywhere. You can email me directly, jj@greatpeopleshow.com, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, Great People Show. You can download the show anytime afterwards on YouTube,
Apple
Spreaker,
Podcasts.
iTunes, Google Play. Please subscribe, be a part of the show. Whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter what you're doing today, just know you are on your way to greatness. I'm your host, JJ White. Thank you for being here. Go out and make it great.